What's up, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Eagles on the Air. Salesian High School is a school that prepares for life, and we're here in our beautiful broadcast studio filming another episode with an amazing guest. My guest today is a member of the class of 1979. You might recognize him as the voice of the New York Knicks and of the NBA. My guest is none other than Mr. Michael Breen. Mike, thank you for coming on the podcast with us today.
It's my pleasure, Steve. Just walking up the staircases and walking down the hallways. It's been a while since I did that. I've been to some other things, but not in a school building, and the memories just come flowing back. It's pretty cool to be back.
I hope to hit on a whole bunch of those memories in the next 20, 25 minutes or so. We couldn't really keep it a secret that you were going to be on campus today because it's been, I don't know if you noticed, there was a lot of rubbernecking as you were walking down the hall to our broadcast studio. So thanks again for doing this. Really excited to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here. This place was so important to me in my life and my family's life and my brother's life that it's always wonderful to return.
That's great. That's great to hear. And let's start right there because I've done a whole bunch of episodes of Eagles on the Air, and each one of them has started the exact same way. I start these episodes, just want to hear what everybody's story is and how you came to know Salesian, how it's impacted you, how you continue to keep it close to you. So without further ado, what is your Salesian story?
Well, I'm one of 6 boys, and we lived in Yonkers. And when it came time for my oldest brother to decide high school, certainly we were going to go to a Catholic high school. And there were a number of different choices. And it was my brother John, and he came up for a visit, and he fell in love with the place. He checked out some of the others, and they were all good and fine. But there was something about Salesian that he just liked the feel of it. I think it wasn't too big, so it wasn't overwhelming. He was greeted so warmly. The message that they gave him and gave to my parents at the time really resonated with him. So all the credit goes to my brother John because he's the one that picked it. And we all followed suit afterwards. If he would have picked somewhere else, we probably would have gone somewhere else. But thankfully and gratefully, this is the place he picked. And all of us Breen boys went here, and all of us had the same experience.
That's pretty amazing. It's great to hear. Now, did you end up in school at the same time as any of your brothers?
Yeah, sure. My brother John had graduated when I was a freshman. My brother Joe was a senior. My brother Tom was a junior, and I was the freshman. And I had felt like I had been going to Salesian for years because, they were involved in various activities. Obviously, there were a lot of events at the school. My brother Joe and Tom played both baseball and basketball. So I was here all the time, and I knew teachers. I knew people in the principal's office. So I felt really comfortable when I first got here. I tell this story. I felt so comfortable that, I thought, hey, my brother's the star of the basketball team. I know everybody. I know the teachers. And I kind of walked around with a little swagger. And I was down in the principal's office like within the first 2 weeks. Jim Tulin was the principal then. A wonderful man, but a disciplinarian. And he brought me in his office, and he told me that I better check my quote-unquote ego at the door. Just because you know everybody doesn't mean you're anything special here. And he set me straight in the first couple of weeks because you did not cross Mr. Tulin.
I'm the director of alumni relations right now, but I'm just coming off 16 years of being the admissions director. I've heard countless stories of boys that came here and were like, I'm coming there, my brother went there. And I always tell them, you got to give me more because just because your brother came here, you have to like it for yourself. So that's great to hear that you knew so much about it. You felt a level of comfort here because I think that was most important is getting your foot in the door. We didn't know that you were going to go on to such a great, prominent, successful career way back when. But it's great that you had those experiences and can pop some of these names right off the top of your head. Which is remarkable.
Oh, sure. It's and it wasn't a matter. I didn't come here just because they did. They exposed me to the place, and so when it was time for me to make my choice, because our parents didn't say, "Well, you have to go to Salesian since they're going to Salesian." I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to be a student. I had my Salesian High School shirts when I was wearing in 7th and 8th grade, and to me it was like this was the place for me. And I did obviously know a number of the teachers, especially Brother Jim Wiegand, who was my basketball coach. He was my brother's basketball coach. and he's just one of a number. But for our family and for me personally, one of the most influential people in my life. And when I saw the way he coached my brothers, I couldn't wait and prayed that I made the team that I could play for him someday.
I love it. I love hearing stories. I love hearing Brother Jim's name. As everybody knows, we have our main basketball court is named the Brother Jim Wiegand Athletic Center. So he's been near and dear to countless young men, countless guys that have graduated here in the 60s and 70s, into the 80s, and just been an influential figure all over. But let's pivot a little bit here, because your time at Salesian sounds like it was enjoyable. And I know you went on to go to college at Fordham University. Tell me a little bit about Fordham and what was the transition like, and what did you study there?
Well, for me here at Salesian, it was, use the word prepare to start things off. It was the perfect place to prepare you for the next step, including college, but also for other things as well. So, you get a great education here, and the discipline was a big part of it back then, and I think it was such a huge part, because when you get a bunch of rowdy boys, age, grades 9 through 12, you have to have that discipline, and they did, and they had teachers who were smart and supportive, but at the same time made sure that you had the proper discipline. So when I had to decide where to go, for me, I knew back then when I was a senior in Salesian that I was interested in going into broadcasting, and there were a couple of other schools I really wanted to go to besides Fordham. But we couldn't afford it at the time, and tried to get scholarships and didn't happen. So Fordham was kind of like my third or fourth choice. And, God blessed me that day, the day of the decision, because it turned out to be the best place for me. We lived 10 minutes. It used to take me, I think, 13 minutes door to door from my house in Yonkers that I lived to the campus at Fordham. And that was, for me, that was one of the biggest decisions of my life, and one of the best decisions I made.
That's great to hear. It's great to hear that Salesian High School had a strong hand in preparing you for that next step. That's the aim. It was the aim back then. It's the aim today, and hopefully in another 100 years, it'll still be the aim of the faculty, staff, the administration of Salesian High School. So it's great to hear. It really is, and it makes, as an educator, it makes the work that we do feel worthwhile. But let's fast forward some more. I want to circle back to certain things too. But all right, so let's leave Fordham. You've built quite a career with not just the Knicks but the NBA. Tell me, I need to know a little bit more. Because your career, I see you on TV all the time. I know you were very close to are very close to Walt Clyde Frazier. And the two of you guys are tremendous to watch on TV. I'm a big Knick fan, so I'm a big fan of all these big runs. But let's talk a little bit about how you built your career with the Knicks and the NBA.
Well, basketball has always been my first love. I love baseball. I played on the basketball and baseball teams here. Not good enough to play at the collegiate level, so I was trying to figure out, okay, if I can't play college baseball or college basketball, maybe the next best thing would be going to broadcasting. There was a friend in our neighborhood, a young man he was young back then, he's older than me now, so he's not so young, Tony Minicola, and he kind of put the bug in my ear to be, why don't you think about broadcasting? And the idea of becoming a sportscaster was something that I thought would be wonderful. So when I was at Fordham, I worked at the college radio station, and I broadcasted the Fordham men's games, basketball, and women's games, basketball, the baseball team, the football team. So when I graduated, I had a pretty good feeling of, okay, number one, do I like it? And number two, I'm okay. I'm not so bad at this. Maybe I can make a living at it. So I did what many do in our industry. My first job, I got up in a small radio station in Poughkeepsie. And I worked at the radio station, 6, 7 nights, some mornings a week, doing some high school games of the week. And I always tell this when I talk to young students who are interested in this. I gave an audition tape to the news director to get the job. I was able to get the job off that audition tape. And after about a year of being on the air every day, I said, let me go back and listen to my audition tape. It was so bad. I mean, so bad. To this day, I don't know how he hired me off that tape. But, those stations, they don't pay a lot, and they were looking for young people to work a lot. And for me, getting on the air every day, sometimes doing news, sometimes doing sports, the old saying, reps, it gave me reps. And I improved a great deal over that first year. And after that, then I started searching for the next job in terms of doing sportscasting. I did Marist College basketball. I did Seton Hall basketball. And then the first time I did the Knicks, I was doing pre and post game on the radio for them. So it was, the usual process, Steve, of you pay your dues, you do some work, and hopefully somebody hires you.
I'd like to refer to it as the grind. It seems amazing. You just put your head down. I love the fact that you just use the word reps. Because as you're talking just now, I coach, right now I coach my kids, 13U and 8U baseball teams. And what do I preach those guys? Reps, reps. It's the only way that you're going to get better in sports, in academics, in broadcasting, in anything. So I'm so happy you just used that word. Now, you've been with the Knicks for a long time.
Yes.
This
is going to be my 34th year.
34 years.
Doing Knicks basketball.
That is amazing.
And it's the team I grew up as a kid rooting for. In my wildest dreams, never thought I'd be able to do it, first of all, at all, and then to do it this long. I mean, I've been blessed in so many more ways than I deserve. But they were my team as a kid. There's a poster hanging up in the house I grew up in Yonkers, which my mother still lives in. She's 93. And I put up a poster of Clyde when I was about 10 years old, and the poster's still up in the house.
Wow.
But I do have to give a lot of the credit to my brothers as well. My older brothers, if they played baseball, I played baseball. If they played basketball, I played basketball. I just followed suit. So it's a good thing. And we followed suit from our father, who was a big sports fan. So all that made us want to get into the sports world.
At the high school you graduated from, we're hoping to groom the next generation of Mike Breens with this broadcast studio that we're in right now and start to expose these kids to the profession at an earlier age, even if, behind the camera, in front of the camera, whatever it is. But back to you. I know you've been behind that desk for some memorable games. As a broadcaster, right off the top, if I said, mention to me a memorable game, does anything pop up to you right away?
It's really hard to narrow it down, Steve. Again, I've been fortunate and blessed to be the broadcaster for so many big games. I'll start with the Knicks game. The Knicks hadn't been to the finals in so long, and in '94, they're in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Indiana Pacers. It's Game 7, and they have a chance to advance to the finals. And the game was at Madison Square Garden, and Patrick Ewing hit a big shot at the end, and he jumps up on the scores table and he opens his arms wide, and it was like he was embracing the 19,000 people there. That was one of the memories that will never leave me, because they finally got back to the finals. Now we're still waiting for them to win a title, but that was really, really special. The John Starks dunk when they played against the Chicago Bulls. A lot of the Salesian students now might not remember those days, because then there was some rough times after that. The Jeremy Lin Linsanity, that whole thing was an amazing. It's only 3 weeks it lasted, but it was an amazing 3 weeks. And now, right now, the last several years, there've been so many really fun Knick games with Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart, and now Karl Anthony Towns. It's been a. Sometimes I sit down at the Garden. I mean, that's my office. And I have to pinch myself, because that's where I get to go to work every day. So that, from a Knicks standpoint, those are the games that I remember. A lot of ESPN games doing the finals. So many of them are so special, but those are some of the Knicks ones that I'll never forget.
It's amazing to hear that. It really is, because like you said, for lack of a better term, you were a kid from the Yonkers. We still draw tons of kids from Yonkers. And so I hope the students in the school watch this, get a little bit of inspiration out of this, and say, you know what, I could do this. Like that's our goal here. I love it. I love it. Plus, it's exciting to talk this, because I'm a diehard Knicks fan. So I'm enjoying this ride as much as anybody. And you know what, off the top of my head, I thought you were going to mention a game, and I don't remember the exact year. But I wanted to know if the Garden was ever louder than when Larry Johnson hit the 4-point play.
All right, that was in '99 when they were also against the Pacers. That building probably was as loud. Although, I tell you what, the Linsanity was crazy loud as well. And even some of Jalen Brunson's heroics in the past couple of years has been some of the loudest. It's, for me, and I know I'm not objective, Steve, but the Madison Square Garden is the best arena. It might not be the loudest, but in terms of what's always described as the electricity in the building, there's no better place to be at a game as a fan, and certainly to broadcast a big game.
Yeah, and unfortunately, all I can do is be there as a fan, and it's it's always an awesome experience. It really is. I love going there, and I love the vibe that this team has. Hopefully, they continue it. Hopefully, they bring us a title here, because I'm sure you would be excited. Me, my whole family would be pumped, and we're not alone there. But I have to ask you something here, a little bit kind of on topic, a little bit off topic. A little social media trend goes on here, and I want to know your opinion. Jordan or LeBron?
All right, this is not a cop-out answer, but I will never compare great players from different eras.
Well done.
Jordan played in a different era than LeBron played. By the way, one of my favorite saying is comparison is the thief of joy. Because if you get into this debate about who you like more, Michael Jordan, or who's better, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, you almost have to say something negative about one of them to make your point. And I'm saying something negative about Michael Jordan, something negative about LeBron James, it doesn't make sense. But just as importantly, Jordan played in a different era. The game was played differently. It was officiated differently. It was coached differently. The rules were different. What was allowed defensively was different. So if somebody said to me, I think Michael Jordan's the greatest player of all time, I'll say, I think I agree with you. But if they said, I think LeBron James is the greatest player of all time, you could say, same thing. I agree with you. I can understand your point. But there are others in that conversation as well. Will Chamberlain, the numbers he put up in his particular era will never be duplicated. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, what he did in terms of MVPs and championships. So there's so many great players out there. To say one's the greatest, especially when they cross over different eras, I think is an impossible and a fruitless task.
You know what? I love that answer. I know you said it's not a cop-out. I love that answer. But listen, I'm 43 years old now, all right? And just gave it away for all the kids at school that think I'm 58. I'm 43. I know I got grades and whatever. But I'm old enough to have watched plenty of Jordan games. Obviously, I get to see LeBron pretty often, and I got to agree. It's two different things. And plus, I'm a basketball referee. I referee high school and college basketball. So saying it's officiated differently, thank you. You understand the job of a referee. Completely different. The Pistons of that era, of Jordan's era, they were ruthless.
Right.
Ruthless. So anyway, I love I love hearing about this because, again, it's like I'm looking at you right now and I'm wondering, when I turn around in 20 years, which one of the Salesian students that are here right now are going to be sitting in that chair talking about their experiences working at the professional level. So, but let's real quick, if you don't mind, let's circle back to your days at Salesian. I had another question. I asked it once more of a guest on the podcast. I asked him, simply enough, who is on your Salesian High School Mount Rushmore? If you had to name a few people, and we can have some fun with this, but if you had to name some few, and I know you mentioned a few names already, who were especially influential to you, either while you were here or people that continued to have a positive impact on your life, in your days after Salesian, or maybe a couple of those people big.
Yeah, see, it all starts with Brother Jim. He was such a wonderful man, in addition to being a spectacular coach. For me, he not only taught me how to play amongst the team, but he taught me about the ins and outs of basketball. And the knowledge that I gained from him, from playing for him, really served me well in my quest to become a basketball announcer. And he helped me fall in love with the game more and more. And I fell in love with basketball because of the team aspect. I always loved the team aspect. And little did I know that broadcasting basketball, it's the same thing. It's a team aspect. It's not just the announcers, it's the producers and the directors and the camera people and the graphics people and the video people and the stats people. It's a whole team working together. And he really taught all of us who played for him that, the team is so much stronger than the individual parts. But he was also a man of faith. And that was always a part of what we were doing. And have a role model like that, to be in charge and have such an impact on so many young men over the years with that faith-based foundation that he had, he's without question one of the most influential people in my life. I also was very blessed to have a terrific baseball coach in Bill Mackin, and Bill, I'm still in contact with, and he was baseball. He was also my freshman basketball coach. Same thing, like not only taught you how to play, but taught you how to be a good teammate, taught you how to be a good person. He also hired me at a job that wound up being my summer job that helped me pay through college. So another man that had a great influence on me. And John Flaherty was one of so many teachers that you had that he just knew how to be a role model. And I know he was here for so many years. He had such a distinguished career. He was a tough teacher in terms of, you had to work to get a decent grade in his class. But he just was such a man of high integrity and high character, and somebody that, you looked up to when you were here. So those three are the three that really come to mind.
And although I don't know Bill Mack and don't think I ever met him, I got to know Brother Jim very well. And John Flaherty, I was very close to. And if anybody is on my Salesian Mount Rushmore, just as a 20-year employee here, John would be high atop that list because you described him perfectly. He was a man of strong character. I still stay in touch with him. At the time of filming here, at this point here, our golf outing is in a few days, and I know John is flying up from Florida to be with us for the weekend. So I can't wait to see him. And it does not shock me at all that he was influential in your life. Those guys that had him in the 70s knew him as Flash. The guys still come around. Hey, did you speak to Flash? John is, we have a building across the way. The Art Center is named Flaherty Hall. Nobody is more deserving of having their name on a building on this campus than John Flaherty. I think he is one of the best individuals to walk this campus in its 105-year history.
And Steve, I think if you asked all of my brothers who attended here, those three would be on their list as well. So, and probably a lot more than that.
Yeah, you know what? I came to Salesian High School in 2006, in the fall of 2006. That's when I got hired here by John, and it didn't take me very long, and I didn't know anything of the history of the school just yet. I was just hired at the time to teach math. It didn't take me very long to figure out who Brother Jim Wiegand was, and when Brother Jim Wiegand was on campus, people flocked over here, whether they were alumni, whether they were former staff. Brother Jim always had like an aura around him. Plus, he's a big guy. He has a big guy with big hands. Brother Jim was a great man.
Yep.
He passed away about a year ago, but was a great man and left an indelible mark at Salesian High School.
John Flaherty taught me driver's ed. He was my driver's ed instructor as well.
Oh man!
And that he didn't mess around in that. I remember the first time I drove on a parkway. I put my foot on the gas pedal just slightly, and we're barely going. And the parkway's going. He had to lean over his foot, and he slammed on top of my foot to tell me, you need to accelerate to get out of the park. It's amazing how silly little moments like that stick into your head. But, that's... There's so many fond memories of John. That's one of the ones I remember. Yeah. He scared the hell out of me, that's for sure.
Yep, that sentiment, you're not alone there, because people used to talk about how tough he was. And I don't want to take up a whole ton of time here, but I'll tell you one quick story. When John was here, somehow or another, I became the keeper of the school's Costco card. And John used to love to go to Costco. So if he found out we needed something, he goes, "You going to Costco? Come on, we'll take the driver's ed car." He'd throw me the keys. He goes, "You drive." I'm driving up Main Street, driving the driver's ed car. I had no issues driving, no cars around us. I almost get sent through the windshield because John wanted to, I don't know if he remembers this, but on the passenger side, he had access to the brakes.
Right.
And he gave me a brake check in the middle of Main Street on my way to Costco. I said, he almost sent me through the windshield. He goes, "Oh, no, we have driver's ed later. Just wanted to make sure the brakes work." I said, "John, they work just fine. Thank you." But he's a great guy. And I know he watches all the podcasts. He's going to be pumped when he sees you on here as well. But I know we've taken up a bunch of your time.
No, it's good. I'm enjoying this so much.
Yeah, and you know what? Do you have any advice for any of the kids at our school here? I know a lot of them watch the podcast. A lot of their parents watch it too. Before we conclude, I like to ask a guest, you have any advice? You have any words that you want to leave our guys with?
I go back to various high schools and colleges, and it's usually broadcasting students and communication students. But the advice is pretty much for wherever you want to go into. I remember back because my father was a steam fitter, and it was a hard job. And he would get up every day, crack of dawn, and just work his butt off, and it was hard. And I remember on Sunday nights, he would have to think, okay, weekend's over, I got to get up tomorrow. And I remember saying to myself as a kid that if he worked so much, I wish he had a job that he liked, that he couldn't wait to get to. Now, he loved the people he worked with, but it was a tough job. And I vowed when I was younger that I wanted to have a job that I couldn't wait to go to work every day. And that's why sports was something important to me. And I think that's what young people should do. Try and don't think that anything's out of reach, but pick a field that you think you would love to go to work every day. If you love animals, be a vet. If you love airplanes, be a pilot. If you love sports, there's so many different ways that you go into, whether it's coaching, whether it's physical therapy, whether it's sportscasting, and give it a shot. Give it a real shot. And if it doesn't work out, okay. But you don't want to say later in life that, I should have tried to do that, and never at least attempted. Because we're all going to fail at certain times, and I fell flat on my face a number of times. There were a number of times that I was ready to quit because I wasn't pleased with my progress. But because I was so in love of the job I was pursuing, or the career I was pursuing, that I always felt it gave me a little extra motivation to hang tough. Like, for example, if I said I wanted to be a doctor and going through medical school, I actually got great advice from my guidance counselor at Salesian. I just remember this, Steve. Father Tony D'Angelo was the guidance counselor. And he asked me, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'm thinking of being a sportscaster or maybe a doctor. So he says to me, oh, you want to be a doctor? So you want to go to college and have to get a 4.0 each semester? Then you want to go to med school and study for 2 more years? Then you want to go to your internship? And he's listing all the difficulties of becoming a doctor and the challenges. And I remember saying to myself, man, I don't want to do all that. And then he says, all right, so you want to be a sportscaster? I said, yes. He goes, are you willing to move to a small town and work for hardly any money and have to work in a lot of those small little radio stations or TV stations for 5 to 10 years before you get your break? And he's describing all the difficult challenges of broadcasting. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds fine to me. And it showed me that that's what I had in my heart. That was my dream. That's what I had a passion for. And that's what I would suggest always to young people is find a field that you'll know you love to go to work every day, that you have a passion for. So when you hit those walls, when you hit that adversity, because you have such a love and passion for that particular career, you're willing to fight through that adversity. So that's probably the number one thing.
That's amazing advice. That's a great story. It's amazing advice. And again, we're going to push this episode out and hope that every student here watches and listens to that and listens closely. And it sounds like, Father Tony D'Angelo did a good job preparing you for what was coming next, and ultimately extremely beneficial that you hung tight, and ended up doing what you love and formulated probably, dare I use the term, a legendary career. But Mike, again, I just want to thank you for coming on. We've been looking forward. I know you got an extremely busy schedule. As soon as you mention broadcasting at Salesian High School, you think of one person. You're that person. So we're happy, we're flattered, we're honored to have had you come on the show today. Can't wait till this airs. And just a big, big thank you.
My pleasure. This place has a special place in my heart, and it really built a foundation for me that has guided me my entire life.
That's amazing to hear. I think that those are beautiful words to close this episode. Guys, this has been Mike Breen from the Salesian High School class of 1979, the voice of the New York Knicks, soon to be champion New York Knicks. I know we could do it. The voice of the NBA. Thank you again, Mike. And to all those watching, this has been a tremendous episode of Eagles on the Air.